Yesterday, we learned that we could read the balanced equation in moles, which means I can go from moles to moles. But the only problem is we got no device that measures moles. If I want to find mass, I can use the balance. If I want to find volume, I can use the graduated cylinder. If I want to find moles, there's nothing. So we can't measure moles, but we need to measure how much we're putting in and how much we're getting out. It's about quantities. So what can we do? What we can measure easily is grams. We can turn grams into moles. Where do we get the numbers for turning grams into moles? Off the periodic table. Since we got moles, we can use moles to change what chemical we're talking about. That was last night's homework. They told you about one chemical. You went from moles of that to the moles they asked for. Took the numbers out of the... Where do you get the numbers for that? Where do you get the numbers for moles to change chemicals? What numbers do you use? From the balanced equation. And then we're supposed to be predicting how much we make. To see how good we did, we're probably going to have to weigh it again. So we can take those moles and turn them back into grams. And once again, that's going to be using the numbers off the periodic table. Okay. Seem logical? We learned how to do the middle step, and we knew how to do those two steps. We're just putting them together. Okay. Nothing, I told you, this is the only new step for most of the chapter. So if I give you grams, you can turn grams into moles of the same chemical. Then I can turn moles into moles, getting them out of the equation. And then I can turn those into grams of the second chemical. So I change chemicals, get moles, and then I can change it into what I want to know about those chemicals with grams. Okay? So decide where to start based on the units they gave you. So on your homework last night, they always started with moles. So your first step was always to go to moles. Right? Okay? And you stop based on the units you're asked for. So on most of the homework, you were only asked for moles, so you stopped there until we got to 169 and they asked you for grams. And you took another step. That's it, yeah. That's all we're doing is adding this to it. Tomorrow, you guys are going to add liters and molecules to it. Does that make sense? Because I don't get to be with you tomorrow. I get to go talk to 8th graders instead about science here. So, because the program's changing for them, so they're about to register. We got to tell them what their options are. No, I just get to talk at 8th graders for 4 minutes. Okay. So, we're not going to work this problem out. Okay? What we need to do is how would we go about solving it? Okay? So when you see a question like this, how many grams of C2H2 are needed to produce 8.95 grams of H2O? How are you going to solve that problem? Yep. So they gave you grams of H2O, so we're starting here. They asked for grams of C2H2. We've got to get to grams all the way over here. So it's going to take me 3 conversion factors. The first one to change those grams of the first step into moles. The second one to go from moles to moles. And the last one to go from moles to mass. Now, you know what? I do actually need to work this one out. Because people make a silly mistake. And we don't want to make silly mistakes. Okay? Because they want to use the numbers of the equation too much. So if I have 8.95 grams of water, my first step said I was going to go from grams to moles, right? I get rid of grams of water, go to moles of water. And off the periodic table, 2H is 2.02. Oxygen 16, so that's 18.02 grams. And here's where people make mistakes. How many moles? How many moles of water? One. If you take the numbers off the periodic table, it's for 1 mole. Right. Then get rid of moles of H2O. And I'm doing that so I can change what chemical I'm talking about. So I changed it to moles so I can change chemicals, and the chemical they asked me about was C2H2. And out of my balanced equation, there's a 2 in front of H2O, and there's a 2 in front of C2H2. You need both 2's. Okay? Good. Because you take the numbers out of the equation. And then I'm not going to type in my calculator. I'm lazy. I'm not typing them, but I'm going to write them down. So when I go back, I know where they came from. Does that make sense? So then I want to get moles of C2H2, change that to grams of C2H2. And that's 24.02 for the carbon, 2.02 for the hydrogen, so that's 26.04 grams. For how many moles? 1. So the only time we use the numbers from the equation are when we're going from moles to moles. And that's the mistake you can make, is use that coefficient too often. Does that make sense? Now, are all the problems going to take 3 steps? No, this is the nastiest problem. Okay? If I give you grams and ask you for moles of B, turn it into moles, you're done with 2 steps, right? So this is your guide about how far you're going to have to go. Does that make sense? So I could talk about it all day and I could show you 1,000 examples, but you learn better by doing it yourself. Right? So do it yourself.